Good morning and welcome to Face the Nation. I'm John Dickerson. Chairman of the Republican National Committee, Reince Priebus, joins us now. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask you about a report that Donald Trump in the 1990s served as his own spokesman under another name. What do you make of that?
It's a little bit odd, but I will just tell you that I think of all the things facing this country right now, and after being through this primary for a year, I can assure you that that particular issue is not going to move the electorate. I mean, people are comparing Hillary Clinton, a career politician, someone who's made millions of dollars on politics, and a guy who's never run for public office, a business guy who's a total outsider that's going to cause an earthquake in Washington. That's really the issue that's on the ballot. All these other stories, and there's going to be, I'm sure, lots of stories, my guess is it's not going to move the electorate. That's not what they're looking at.
Well, now that we are looking at a general electorate, and as you point out, he's a total outsider, very new, but isn't that the point, is since he's unknown, these kinds of stories are ones that people key on, and I guess in this case it's not so much the impersonation, but that this week he denied it, though in the past he said he had. On the Today Show, he said it wasn't him, but in the past he said it was.
Well, look, I mean, like I said, I think the issues that are facing Washington are, who's going to bring a more efficient, accountable, effective government here. And I don't think the electorate's going to look at whether or not someone was calling a reporter 30 years ago and it was them or it wasn't them as the issue that they're deciding in this campaign. Donald Trump has effectively carved out a niche for himself, which is, I'm the guy that's going to turn this place upside down. People believe that. They don't believe that Hillary Clinton is that person. And by the way, Hillary, you have to be careful who throws stones in glass houses, because Hillary Clinton can't throw any. So she's not going anywhere in that regard. So it's going to come down to that issue. Who's going to be the change agent? It's not going to be Hillary Clinton.
One of the ways we, in the past, have evaluated new candidates on the scene is looked at their tax returns. Donald Trump said that he doesn't think people have a right to see his tax returns. In the past, that was kind of the standard. Do you think that shouldn't be the standard anymore, whether we should look at a candidate's past tax returns?
I wouldn't be surprised if people don't care. I mean, I think one thing for sure, Donald Trump has rewritten the traditional playbook in politics. And I don't know if anyone else could have pulled off what he's pulled off over the past year, but just sort of traditional review and analysis of individual candidates has not applied to Donald Trump. And I think it's because he's presented himself as something bigger than just the traditional analysis. And people are angry. People want something done right this second. And Donald Trump has effectively represented that position. Now, whether or not his taxes are disclosed or not is something I don't think is going to move the electorate.
I guess the question is whether political success changes the standard by which we evaluate a candidate. When Bill Clinton was successful in politics, a lot of Republicans said, that shouldn't change the standard. He should still be judged on the old-fashioned standard. Don't let his political success create a kind of relativism that changes our standards.
Well, I mean, it's a good point, but, look at Bill Clinton. He served for 8 years, and he's still out there running around, and people are still coming and cheering him on. I think that the real analysis has to be, at least from my standpoint in the moment, what it is exactly we have to do as a party to make sure that, number one, we're true to our party, we're true to our platform, and that the party exists as it is today in the future, and the fact that we want to win in November, and Donald Trump is someone who has been winning more votes in the primary than any Republican nominee in the history of our primaries.
Yeah.
And so I look at what the voters are saying, John, and the voters are saying, I like what I'm hearing.
There's talk of a third party. Bill Kristol and Mitt Romney are trying to put one together. Should they stop that?
Well, I've heard that Mitt actually isn't looking at that. I'm not sure about Bill Kristol, but it's a suicide mission, because you're not only changing and throwing out 8 years of the White House, but you're also throwing out potentially generations on the Supreme Court. Look, we could have up to 3 justices change over in the next 8 years, and this is a suicide mission. It is not right. And I think what people should do is take the Paul Ryan approach, which is to work with Donald Trump and find out whether or not there's common ground, and whether there can be assurances on the Supreme Court and those sorts of things to make sure that our future is secure down the line, as opposed to blowing everything up.
Let me ask you about Paul Ryan. He differs with Mr. Trump on the issues of immigration, entitlements, taxes, trade. 3 times during the campaign, he came out and questioned his tone on issues from the Muslim ban on immigration to his reluctance to denounce white supremacists. So what's the basis for unity between the two of them?
Well, look, I think they agree on far more than they disagree on. I mean, they agree on various agenda items in Paul Ryan's agenda. They agree on the Supreme Court. They agree on the platform of the Republican Party. They agree on abortion. I mean, look, I think you've got about 80% overlap, and you've seen actually Donald Trump this week nuance a little bit on some of those positions that you've just outlined. And so I think we're going to get there. I think there's plenty of common ground. And when the choice is Hillary Clinton, and when someone who's made a career of lying and skirting the issues, and you look at the emails, the Benghazi, the Clinton Foundation, and a guy who's never run for office and might have some stories out there that you know make some interesting news, I think in the end people are going to choose the person that's going to cause an earthquake in Washington and get something done over Hillary Clinton.
All right, Chairman Reince Priebus, thanks so much for being with us.
You bet, John.